What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Pilots Club, a podcast all about the first episodes of television shows and the many reasons why they may or may not be worth a watch. Every month, we pick a different pilot episode to watch and then discuss it here on our show. We release these episodes first and foremost to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/the Whatnauts on our $3 tier and above. And then 2 years later, we release these episodes to a wider audience on a public feed. So if you want to catch up on 2 years worth of episodes, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is the place to do that. When we first made the Pilots Club, it was a little rough around the edges, so we wanted to polish it up a bit and repackage it, so to speak, with this new intro. And eventually you will stop hearing me doing this pre-recorded intro, and I will just start saying it as we record each episode. But until then and beyond, please enjoy the show and what it grows into. Hello and welcome back to our Pilots Club section of our Patreon podcast here. Melissa, thank you for joining me. How's your night been?
It's been fine. I went to Walgreens and I needed to buy a box of Band-Aids. And there's so many new kinds of Band-Aids, and I was really overwhelmed.
Like new shapes, new cut. Like what?
Yes.
Did you get the like Godzilla ones? Did you get the Rugrats ones? How'd you get here?
They've got. I didn't even look at the like character branded ones because those ones aren't the highest quality. I wish I could get a very high quality Band-Aid that also had Princess Elsa on it, but that's not possible. They've got ones that are like, the entire surface is Band-Aid, you know? Like regular Band-Aid, it's like, this is the part that goes on the wound and the other part is sticky. They've made that all one. Entire thing sticky and good for wound. And they're like a weird Saturn shape.
So it's just... Interesting. I was just going to ask, is that just tape?
No.
The whole thing is sticky, right?
It's sticky with like health goo. Like, it's good for the wound and it's sticky. They made those two parts one part. But apparently, like, you put it on and it says over time it will bubble up to show you that it's working on healing your wound. And I like burnt my hand on the oven. And I'm like, I can't have that on my hand for several days. So I just bought regular.
Oh, well.
I just wanted you to be forewarned in case you need Band-Aids. Like, do your research before you get to Walgreens. Know what you want.
The Band-Aid market out of control. Which sounds like something that might happen in the show that we're about to talk about here. So for this month on the Pilot Club, we are talking about the pilot of Doom Patrol, the DC Comics show. Melissa, I believe you had been wanting to get into this for a while. I had been too. I started it like a week ago. I've now seen the first two
episodes
I've
or
not
seasons.
Very far, yes. First two. Not seasons, but yeah. And I feel like this is a long time coming.
It is,
right?
Yes. This show came out in 2019 on DC Universe, when that was a streaming platform before it got absorbed into HBO Max. And I started watching it at that time, and I got a handful of episodes in. I was really liking it. But then it was Jams's account. My brother Jams, and he like canceled it. Like, this is fun. I don't think I want to keep paying for this. And I liked it, but I also wasn't going to keep paying for it. So I thought, I'll just eventually watch Doom Patrol somewhere. I don't know. And then it came on HBO Max.
Now it's on HBO Max.
But again, I have to share a profile with the other brother, and he was watching it for a while. And I'm like, well, we can't both do this at the same time. So there have been different obstacles to me finishing Doom Patrol. But I don't remember a lot about the episodes I was watching. But I look back on them with vague fondness. I did really like what I saw of the show.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, I've been wanting to get into this show because I read the comics that this is based off of. Well, there are multiple comic series of this, but most famously, Grant Morrison had a great run on this. And basically the Doom Patrol that we know now and is being depicted in this show is what Grant Morrison did in his run. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Doom Patrol, they are like an oddball group of heroes, I guess you could say, led by one Niles Calder, who is a professor who is in a wheelchair. And if a team of oddballs led by a professor in a wheelchair sounds familiar, it's because DC Comics was working on this show, and their competition down the road got wind that they were making a team of oddballs led by a professor in a wheelchair, and they rushed something out, and that something was Giant Size X-Men #1.
Wow, I didn't know Doom Patrol was supposed to come first, way back when.
It was, yeah. And so yeah, just a little fun fact that this is like pseudo X-Men before the X-Men, but it's also very different.
Yeah.
What the X-Men is now, Doom Patrol is not that at all. Yeah, this first episode, this pilot, is literally entitled Pilot.
I am disappointed they didn't call it.
These pilots will be.
I'm disappointed they didn't call it Pilot Patrol, because every episode of the series is something Patrol.
They even have one called Paw Patrol.
Oh, gosh.
Yep, like the show. Yeah, so this first one was directed by Glenn Winter, who is pretty well known for working on DC Comics related stuff. Let's see, he's worked on Smallville, for example. He's worked on all the CW stuff there, and this one was written by Jeremy Carver, who helped to develop the show. He's known for the series Being Human, as well as Supernatural.
Right. Yes. I thought I remembered his name from Supernatural, but I was worried I was remembering a guy named like Jeremy Carter, and I was slightly off.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. I thought there was some really neat things in there. However, right off the bat, I will say the pilot works better when you watch the second one immediately after.
Okay.
Those first two work really well as a like, okay, here's what's going to be happening on this show, because both the comics and this show is going to get really weird.
Yeah.
Really strange. I immediately off the bat, there's a character who like not forms it, but like demorphs into like a giant blob of like goo.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's a robot except for his brain, played by Brandon Fraser, and I think this was one of his first roles back when he started acting. When he picked up his acting career. There's all sorts of weird stuff. You guys might be familiar with Cyborg from Teen Titans. He's in this as well. They're just all sorts of strange characters, strange things happening. It's very meta. The whole pilot is narrated by the main bad guy of season 1. And it's just it makes for an odd combination, if that makes sense. Melissa, are you still with me here? Can you hear me? Let's see here. I may have lost Melissa.
Carla, you turned into entirely soup. I haven't gotten most of what you've said.
Movement. Yes. Are we back? No? Maybe spoke too soon? Damn it. Wait a minute. Movement is happening. I don't understand why this has been happening recently. Minimize that guy. I am not getting anything. Any movement here. Oh, wait. Melissa, are you back? Can you hear me now?
It seems better. There's like a slight lag, but you're moving more consistently.
Okay, yeah, things have improved, but it's still real choppy on my end too.
That took a while. That was a long one.
Yeah. I have no idea what's happening. That was a long one. Indeed. It's still not doing any of that stuff. Are we back now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's still lagging quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can hang up the call and try it once more.
Okay. All right, goodbye. Oh my, okay. How's this looking?
That's looks and sounds a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. There we go. I'll have to fix all of that stuff here. But I was saying with the list of actors and the cast and the narration there, it makes for a really odd combination of things happening here. So what did you think?
I had a lot of fun with this. It is what I remembered. It is wacky. There's a part at the end of the episode where literally a donkey walks out and then it farts a green cloud. And the green cloud spells out the words, "The mind is the limit." So that's what we're dealing with here. Yep. But there is a lot of emotion behind it also. The characters go through real pain and they have real sincere relationships with each other. And they're all in such unique situations that they become very closely bonded very quickly. And I like that they are undeniably a family unit and they all know that.
Or it might be a little bit reluctant at first, right? But as they continue to go on these adventures and maybe break the rules a little bit here and there, they do start to have those bonds, and it becomes more of a family for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So in the pilot, it has to do a lot of work to get you caught up here.
Yeah.
There's a whole team that it introduces you to, so it kind of moves quickly, it jumps back and forth, and also does its own little adventure in that first one there. So you first kind of get introduced to Robot Man here, who is Brendan Fraser's character.
It is Brendan Fraser.
Oh, am I saying it wrong?
Yeah. I only say this because I imagine he probably grew up with a bunch of kids in school thinking his name is Brandon. I just want to tell you out there, Brendy, I see you.
For the correction. Yeah. Yeah, and he was a famous race car driver, had a family, but was screwing it up because he was screwing someone else. And in what's interesting about this pilot is that in the comics, the car crash that happens to him is the one that's on the track, not the one that happens after. So when it like they did a great job of like twisting my expectations of being like, oh, here it is. He's like he just something distracted him and he's about to go and be in this huge wreck. And then you see part of it and then it cuts off and it is the like, well, I know what happened next.
Yeah.
And that's how he became Robot Man, Cliff. And then you return to that scene and you see that the car in front of him like flips on like past him. He's fine. He wins the race. And I was like, oh, that is different from the comics. That's not what happens here. That's interesting. But yeah, he gets in a car accident with his family. The wife dies for sure. It seems like the kid might still be alive, but it's unclear.
Yeah.
But there's enough of a hope there for him that he wants to venture out and go see his daughter. But he also really did not survive for the most part.
Just a brain.
Dr. Niles Calder, just took his brain and put it in a robot, mad scientist style. We also meet Rita Farr, who's an actress from the like 20s and 30s, I think.
The 50s.
50s. Oh well. But she was this. She was like the hot young actress on all of these movies, and then was in this terrible accident when she fell into this lake, and underneath the lake found this like weird energy that like went inside her.
Like there's a magic talisman in the lake or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. But as a result, her skin like melts and she forms into this like giant blob.
Yeah, she's very poised and put together and fashionable and pretty. But when she gets nervous or scared or something like that, she turns into the blob. This is a nice juxtaposition of what if this 1950s starlet was also the 1950s movie monster, the blob. Not even a sexy 1950s movie monster.
Right, yeah. We also got Crazy Jane here at the household, who has, I think they said like 63 different personalities or something like that, each with its own superpower and stuff like that. There's one scene in there where she's out in the back in the garden painting, and Cliff comes up to her and it starts raining on the painting and stuff like that. That is straight from the comics.
Oh, that's nice.
Is like shot for shot, like in the comics. And I remember really, really enjoying the relationship between Cliff and Jane.
Yeah.
In that, it's a good one. So I cannot wait to see what they do with that.
I remember that being maybe the strongest relationship that develops over this first handful of episodes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Larry.
And then I have to, what's his like superhero name?
Larry.
Have they given him one? Larry is his superhero name.
Like they don't have superhero names. Like you keep calling him Robot Man. Nobody does in the show. He isn't Robot Man. He's still Cliff. He's still his human name.
Cliff Steele, aka Robot Man. Yeah, I think Larry is supposed to be like Negative Man or something like that, is like his, I think. I don't remember exactly. Who knows. But yeah, so he was an Air Force pilot, a training pilot, I believe. And And we also learn that he is gay, and that he, all in one fell swoop, like wants to leave his family for his new partner, but is too scared to tell his new partner that that's what he wants to do. So he's stuck in this in between.
Yeah.
And he's testing a new plane, and something goes wrong. He gets hit by this form of energy.
Yeah, he flies too high, exactly. Flies through an energy field, then he becomes an energy field. He crashes, his body's all burnt and scarred, but he's like an electric soul that can leap out of his body. And nowadays he walks around all bandaged up like an invisible man with very cool goggles and a cool coat. Larry, also very stylish.
Yeah. So it's something that's neat with the Doom Patrol is they are kind of styled as these like B-movie like monsters. Which is really neat, right? You, like you said, you got the Blob, you have the Invisible Man, you have this like Frankenstein robot thing here, right? Yeah, it's such a group of odd balls. And then Niles Calder is the leader of the team, kind of this like former adventurer, scientist, explorer, mad scientist. He's like James Bond mixed with
he's literally
Indiana
James
Jones
Bond
mixed with like
he's Timothy Dalton.
Well, right, yeah. Yeah. But like like he's that he used to be that kind of character mixed with like what used to be Indiana Jones mixed with like Dr. Frankenstein himself mixed with just like all of these older characters mixed in one. He's a really interesting character, but he usually comes and goes. Like he's not there all the time, and so he leaves the rest of the team to their devices. So I've been talking for a bit to introduce the characters. What is you like? How did you like the dynamic between the team here?
I liked it. I like that they're nobody's first choice for company, but they they develop this quiet comfort with each other just in the fact that you get who I am. I'm such a strange mutant out here in the world. And they're all like time-wise completely cut off from their families. You know, I think Larry's from the 40s and Rita's from the 50s. Jane says she's from the 70s. Jane looks like she's like 25 or something, but I think she's much older. Cliff crashed in like 1988 or something. So it's not just that their conditions separated them from their family. Their conditions separated them from their family decades ago. They just live in this sad, empty mansion with each other, and they have to be each other's family. And just little things like, Larry saying like, oh, Rita likes to knit. She likes to sit in here in the sun in the afternoons. Just like, they just know each other very well. Even the most mundane details of their lives, they get to know about each other. And they're just constantly around. Even if they aren't pals, they just have to be pals by default. And there is a sort of acceptance there. And the fact that nobody has to try very hard.
For sure.
Nobody's to impress each other. There's no intense friendship, really, and there's also no intense themselves. Right, yeah. There's no intense friendship and no intense animosity. Like they just are. They're all resigned to be decades-long weird mutant roommates.
Yeah. I like where the show starts them all at, right? They're all in their own little separate corners of the mansion. And it's really Cliff's story about his crash and him just waking up, finding out his family is dead. And then maybe his daughter's not dead. That he wants to be like, hey, I need help. Can you guys get me out of here? Can we go see her? And at first, they're all like, it's a bad idea. People don't understand who we are and why we are, and all of that stuff. But then they kind of eventually is just like, well, you know what? Stuff like this never happens. So why not?
Yeah.
Let's just go venture out. The parents aren't home, right? Niles Calder's not here. He's off doing who knows what. So let's just take the bus and go. And that's what they do. They set out to go find Cliff's daughter, but they don't make it very far. They get to this small town, and yeah, that's when things start going wrong here at this small town. Rita gets recognized but not recognized.
Yeah,
it's like, man, you look exactly like the spitting image of this actor from the 50s. And eventually she starts forming into her blob self, and it starts to wreak havoc on the community. Jane and Cliff get pulled over by the cops, and just chaos ensues, right? We do see Niles with them eventually. I think he was right? Off. He figures out what happens.
Yeah, he was off on some Niles adventure, whatever he does. He's driving back into town and he sees the donkey and he's like, oh no, the donkey means something to me. An enemy is after me. And he goes back home to, literally, it's called Doom Mansion. And he's like, guys, we got to run away from here. And then Cliff is like, what if instead we defended the town? You said something bad's coming for us in the town. If we leave, the bad thing might still get to the town. If we're in trouble either way, let's stay and see if we can help the town. And in the end, that's what everybody winds up doing. The four of them, just it's him and then Larry and Jane and Rita walking down this little cute main street to face the fart donkey. The fart donkey means a bad omen. The fart donkey means Alan Tudyk is here. And Alan Tudyk plays a villain named Mr. Nobody, I think. And he was a low-rate henchman earlier in the 40s or something, and he had this experiment done on him to make himself an actual A-list villain, and it does something where it fragments his body. It's a really cool effect where you see him, he's just little bits and pieces all cut up of an Alan Tudyk that glows with energy and negative space.
This is why I was so interested in watching this show. Mr. Nobody in the comics is I wouldn't even begin to know how to depict him in real life. If you guys are familiar with the art movement of Dadaism, Mr. Nobody is basically the embodiment of Dadaism. And Dadaism is just pure nonsense. That's what it is. It is just nonsensical. You guys have seen the Salvador Dali paintings of the melting clocks and all that stuff. Think like that, but not only, but it that would just be dipping your toe in, your pinky toe in, how strange it can be. Think of performance art of some dude in a weird costume and sign and just spouting random syllables out on the street. Hoarder. That stuff. He is the embodiment of that. And yeah, the Doom Patrol fights art styles in the comics. It's so cerebral and so just what the fuck is this, that I'm so intrigued by this show that I cannot wait to see where this goes. Because immediately in the pilot, they do get very meta.
Yeah.
They do reference the comics. The people that they know have read the comics and are expecting certain things to happen and stuff like that. It's interesting, the weird things that they can do with this. And I'm excited to see if this kind of pushes the envelope on what is possible with
Mm-hmm.
TV and narrative storytelling. Because there's really not much out there that is like truly experimenting with the formula and with the format and with the medium.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes, or at least I'll see, because I plan on continuing down the road here.
I will also. I think my brother eventually finished or gave up on Doom Patrol. It slipped out of the queue, so I can add it back in now. It'll be mine now.
Haha. Well, there's currently 3 seasons.
Yeah.
The first 2 premiered on DC Universe. The third premiered on HBO Max. I believe they are working on the 4th season. This was kind of around the same time that Titans launched too, which I guess technically the like backdoor pilot of Doom Patrol happened in the Titans show. However, Wikipedia says that both of these shows take place in different universes, which is on one hand a little disappointing. I would have liked to see Beast Boy show up in this eventually and live with them for a while. But it's the same actors, but just it's in its own separate continuity. Which I did mention that if you are still unsure after watching the pilot, go ahead and watch that second one, because I feel like that is a better arc to tell you what happens or what you're in store for. They go exploring inside that donkey. The whole town gets eaten. There's like Cyborg shows up in all of this, which Cyborg really has nothing to do with the Doom Patrol. I don't know why he's there in this show or why they decided to include him.
He's just a mild-mannered, nice boy who plays football, and now he has to watch the Doom Patrol.
Yeah, he is, though I will say this, the version of Cyborg that I saw in the second one here does remind me a lot of maybe what would have been out of the Zack Snyder's Snyder cut and what they did with him and that emotional arc there. Maybe where he would have been emotionally a little bit down the road is kind of where this Cyborg is. He still has his father. He's still working with his father, but he's a newer hero. He's upbeat. He's trying to do the right thing, but you can tell he's also been through some stuff, not just personally with his accident, but just life as a black man in America, in Detroit. And he is training and trying to do better and hoping to make it to the Justice League in a few years here. And then he gets stuck with with Doom Patrol after that. So, but he does. It's not like he gets stuck there and he's like reluctantly there. He gets stuck there at first, and then his father tries to call him back and be like, hey, like, the Justice League, like, we should get back to our training and stuff like that, hopefully getting you there. And he's like, actually, I think I can do more good here. And so he just decides to stay with them. But my next question to you is, like, what are you expecting from this show? Or I've mentioned they fight art styles. Yeah.
I know there's a sentient street. I think I stopped like just shortly before we get introduced to the sentient street. So I'll eventually make my way there.
Good old Danny.
Yeah.
Danny the street. Indeed.
I don't know. I know there's a lot more to explore with the show. I remember when I was watching it that I found Rita very intriguing, because I feel like within the first couple episodes, you've got a decent handle on everybody's character. but you would learn a little bit more about Rita, and it would just make you ask more questions. Like, she was surprisingly complicated for just pretty starlet turn into blob.
Yeah. These characters all have pretty intense and dramatic backstories that, I think are really enticing and can make for great characters. Just characters out of time or who have been alive longer than they should have. So they have experienced all sorts of stuff or have some entity living inside them, and they have this like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde relationship thing going on. It's fascinating stuff that they're just all oddballs. Like, usually you would have like one of these characters on the team, but also like the team is made up entirely of them.
Right. Cyborg is the most normal one on the team.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But then I think the thing at the end of the day is that, like, no, they all might be oddballs and freaks and screw ups, but they're all normal. Like, that's like they're just normal people is all it is.
Yeah, and that's sort of the message of the thing. Like, you may be a weirdo, but you are not a monster. You know, you are still a complete human being who deserves to be listened to and understood.
Yeah. I'm really hoping to at least see some reference or cameo of Beast Boy showing up, because of the Teen Titans characters. Beast Boy does have a very strong connection to Doom Patrol. In the comics, his parents died out in Africa, and he was taken in by the original Doom Patrol, and Rita Farr was kind of like his surrogate stepmom, so to speak, the one that like took special care of him. And in Titans, when we first meet Beast Boy, he is living there with the rest of the Doom Patrol. So I would like to see some inclusion of that or mention of that, because Doom Patrol is also a team that has multiple generations. Like, there was the original team from the original comics that kind of died out in their own way. I don't exactly know all of their fates. But yeah, then you get the team that is kind of what's in the comics by Grant Morrison, which is basically what's in the show now. And then in the modern day times, Gerard Way has written some Doom Patrol comics.
It's very fitting.
The lead singer of My Chemical Romance, the creator of the Umbrella Academy. So I've heard great things about those comics, but I haven't read them at all. They had their own like mini DC Comics event thing there, so I think there would be some stuff worth exploring down the road there. But I'm anxious for this show to just get bizarre. Like, please make me like just like go as far as you can with the bizarreness. With this, that's what I want. So good stuff. I liked it.
Check it out. I also want to say, if you're interested in other parts of DC, if you watch Peacemaker recently and you liked that bunch of oddballs thrown together have to do a mission, learn to understand each other, I think it's another prime example of that very loose trope. If you just love oddballs who have to be a family by default, prime examples. DC's got them.
Indeed, they do. Cool. I think that's about it for the pilot for this one. So, Melissa, what are we going to do next month?
Right. So we're recording this one a bit early. So I wanted to talk about a pilot of a currently running show, like a recent pilot And I mentioned that this is recorded early because the show might be wrapped up by the time this episode actually comes out. But still,
so we're
new,
trying to
a 2022 series.
Yeah, we're trying to pre-record these because I'm about to move. So I figured, like, if we can just record this month and next month and get that out of the way, I just won't have to deal with all of that stuff. So next month, what's up?
We are watching the pilot episode of The End Game. This is a new show on NBC. I kept seeing commercials for this over and over again during the Winter Olympics. And it's Morena Baccarin, another Firefly alum who plays some sort of master criminal who gets, she's locked up. She's getting interrogated by the FBI or CIA or something. And all these crimes that she's orchestrated are playing out in the city around her. Like, she arranged 7 bank heists. Why? What is the purpose behind this? So it's about her cat and mouse game with this agent who's interrogating her. Or at least that's what I got from the commercials. I was intrigued enough by it, and I thought, well, let's just watch a pilot. Pilots, just a taste. That's what this show is here for.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, that's what we will do for this next week. I believe it is available on Hulu.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check it out with us. But yeah, that is what we will do for this next month.